Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, and it is day 5 of this here wrap up of 2024. We got our green fireplace going. I figure green means go. We're going to go ahead on into 2025, and hopefully, some things will be better next year. Um, again, I do have some of my hesitations, my doubts. The whole industry layoffs and state of tech and game industry and the whole absolute garbage fire that is politics in this country. Um, there's a lot not to look forward to, but hopefully we can fight a lot of that garbage and hopefully we will be able to continue on and forge ahead anyway. So in this last video, we'll talk about some of my personal highlights of the year, some of the things that I've done, and then we'll take a quick look at next year, what I think is going to maybe happen. So, some of my highlights this year, we had some Able Gamers interviews that I was a part of, and that was a lot of fun. And again, a lot of these projects that I will mention here specifically, I have my YouTube channel. Some of these, if they are videos, they will appear under my podcast presentations and interviews playlist. But also, this is where you can go to illegallycited.com. Illegallycited.com is, again, it's kind of largely just like the main page on that website is my, what do they call it? Projects page. And that's where, I list my YouTube channel, my Twitch stream, and all that stuff. But I've also been updating it, and I literally updated it a few days ago with my most recent project that I did. This is where I will put like podcast appearances, articles that I've been in, or like, text interviews that I've done that have been in like either like a website or a digital magazine or something. My Reload magazine thing that I did a year or two ago, stuff like that. So anything that's not really the channel related, if you want to see some of the other projects that I've been working on and, podcast guest appearances and interviews, things like that, Illegally Cited is the place. Illegallycited.com is the place to go for that. It's a very, very basic minimalist website. It's actually kind of embarrassing, but I'm not really a graphic designer, so I don't really have any graphics on there. But as someone even kind of pointed out, it's almost like a digital resume of sorts for a lot of the stuff that I've been doing. So yeah, these Able Gamer interviews, those were really fun earlier this year. I totally forgot that was this year. Even that I'm like, oh yeah, that was this year, wasn't it? So those were really fun to do. Vision Forward, I've been on their podcast a couple of different times, and I was on there earlier this year, and though that is on YouTube because they do a YouTube show as well, and so that is on their channel, and it is also I linked to it on my podcasts and interviews playlist. And give me 1 minute. I've been talking a lot here the last couple hours, and my throat is starting to feel it. Had to get a drink of water. Um, so that was a fun one. We talked a lot about kind of the current state of game accessibility and whatnot. And I've had a lot of those this year, different audiences and different people. We've talked a lot about technology and game accessibility, a little bit of VR accessibility, that kind of a thing. FS Cast interview. I was kind of surprised when they reached out to me for this because, yeah, they reached out to me this summer and they wanted me to talk about accessible gaming there. And so I think we had a really good conversation. I know we have a lot of people maybe who maybe do or don't follow me here, but that do use JAWS or ZoomText or Fusion, Freedom Scientific products, Vispero products. And if they follow that podcast, it's just another way to get my name out there. And I think we had a really good, really fun conversation about kind of the current state of game accessibility as it was this summer, and kind of giving some. And what I really started doing too in a lot of these interviews is, in addition to telling the current state of things, like, oh, well, now people are sort of interested. Oh, I didn't know I could play video games on my computer or my phone or on a gaming console. So I try to kind of wrap things up by giving people kind of a place to start. And what I always sort of tell people is start with the technology that you already have. If you don't know if you're going to like gaming, if you don't know, how you'll do at it or if you'll be into it, start with whatever you have. Do you have an iPhone? Well, there are plenty of accessible games. Do you have a computer? Well, you can maybe try a few things there. If your family has an Xbox or a PlayStation, there are a few games you could try out there. But you don't have to, at least right away, you don't have to shell out for a gaming PC or a PS5 or an Xbox. Just start with what you have and see if you like it, see if you enjoy it, see if it clicks with you, and go from there. XR Access interviews. So I've been working with this community for a few years, and I worked with them for the symposium this summer. But then we also had this XR Stories series where we would. I don't know what the heck. No, hush. Uh-oh. Hang on. No, you're. Okay, I got to go back into my file here. So what happened was when I was talking, my phone decided that it thought I meant a certain digital assistant, and it triggered some weird thing, and so it kind of interrupted me. Oh, I was talking about XR Access. So I've been a part of this group for a few years, and we had this stories series that we had. And there were a few people, like, we tried to get people from, that have different types of disabilities or that use VR or XR, augmented virtual reality in different ways. And so there were a lot of really good stories in that in that um, line of videos. I'm trying not to use that line because it triggers on my phone. But I was one of the episodes in that, let's just call it a season. And, I talked about my experiences using virtual reality and augmented reality, but really concentrated on virtual reality. And I told a lot of the stories that I've told on this channel in my VR accessibility playlist, or some of the VR videos that I've done, some of my presentations that I did for ID24 or the IGDA game accessibility presentation I did. So I just talked a lot about like my experiences, what works really well, what things I would love to see, what things didn't work so well. And yeah, I mean, it was a really fun interview. We have a really short form version to kind of give, like, we have the Cliff Notes version of each of these, and then we have the unedited, like the full length interview if people want to see the whole thing. So again, that's on the XR Access YouTube channel. I'll also link to it on my podcasts and presentations playlist. We talked about this in another video, but the Toby Doom mod, that was a big thing this year. And it won, that was a really big highlight early this year to find out that it won the staff award at the Doom Awards. We put it in as a nomination thinking, there's so many mods out there that it's just cool to be even seen. And then to see we were nominated, but then to find out, oh, hey, dude, we actually won the staff award. So I was really proud of that. And, it was great to be able to share that with Alan and the team. I really liked what they said about it. I did a short video about it too, so you can kind of hear what they wrote about winning that award as far as like why they voted for it as the staff award. So very proud of that, and I'm very proud of just where the Toby Doom mod has come in the last few years, especially like the last 2 years. Everything from like 5 or like 6.0 on has just been seeing so many cool additions that have made things a lot more playable for people. Some of the frustrations that people had even in version 4 and 5, trying to cut down some of those things. Especially, I think you have the compass, but now you have the actual navigation, like the pathfinding thing where you can pathfind to any doors that you've discovered, like key doors, the beginning of the level, and then you can set down place markers, like maybe there's a cluster of health or ammo in a certain part of the level that you don't need when you find it, but maybe after you clear out more enemies in the level, you need to go back and resupply. So, you have different categories, like 1 through 10 of these markers. And so you can, let's say I want to designate marker 2 for health, marker 3 for ammo. And you can just breadcrumb your way back to those parts of the level. So that is very cool. We've had Doom, Doom 2, Heretic. Now Hexen is going to be coming in version 8.0. So we've got the 4 original Doom engine games that people really played back in the day. We've had representations now of all of them. And Heretic and Hexen, in addition to your weapons and ammo, you have items. You have your consumable items that can either give you health or boosts or kind of act as like little grenades or any number of different things. And so all of those are accounted for. Hexen has its character classes you're going to be able to play as. So we've had Operation MDK, which is a separate standalone Doom campaign that Alan had made separately just for the Toby mod. So I've lost track. I would say 50 to 60 levels of accessible Doom and Heretic and Hexen content, because I think there's about 20 episodes or 20 levels, give or take, in the Toby Doom mod with Toby Doom 1 and 2. I think there's like 9 or 10 in the Operation MDK. Heretic's got 9 or 10, I think. Somewhere between 8 and 10. Hexen, I have not even gotten all the way through that yet, but that's got a bunch of levels in it. And then you can try to go back and play the original levels too. So I'm very proud just to have been a small part of the team. I know I didn't develop anything, but being a part of the streams and having Mr. LND1 and Predoa in the streams and us just talking back and forth about ideas. Like, they watch me play with the monitor off and like, oh, well, okay, maybe this would make things help make sense more. Maybe if we tried this, getting feedback from other players. I've gone back and forth. Like, one of the things that we're doing in 8.0 that I came up with was I play with the keyboard and mouse a lot. And so if you have everything mapped to the keyboard in Heretic and Hexen, again, we have your items where you had to use your I to tell which item you had, or O and P would cycle between the items. So I'd have to take my keyboard or the hand off my mouse and go to the keyboard in the middle of combat. Well, I said, what if, we have the left click fire, right click is kind of your lock on. What if we use the mouse wheel? We can switch all of our weapons with our numbers row with our left hand, but what if on our right hand on the mouse, we could scroll up and down with the mouse wheel and then click the mouse wheel to activate the selected item. And so they're implementing that in the 8.0, which I find really helps. Now I can just comfortably use my keyboard and mouse, or you can still do it on the keyboard if you play exclusively that way. But it works really well. So very proud of the Toby Doom mod. I will be doing a video for 8.0 when it's officially released, and I'm given the okay to. But that was another big highlight for me. Getting that Doom award. I don't remember if was it this year or was it late last year when I got that card from John Romero right up here on my tower. That was a cool feeling. That was amazing. Unsighted Radio interview with Chad on the Unsighted Radio podcast. Again, we talked a lot about gaming, game accessibility, tech, VR, nerdy stuff. That was a fun episode. Really enjoyed that. Maybe we'll be back on there at some point in the future. Next Gen Access interview and podcast. That was a pretty fun one too. Again, a lot of these people just sort of reached out to me and just said, hey, would you like to be on this podcast? And so, I find that I really enjoy talking about all this stuff, whether it's accessibility or games or tech, AI. And sometimes I don't even want to talk accessibility. Sometimes I just want to talk about, hey, I love this game. I love this series. I love this technology. I find that I really like doing this stuff. But the Next Gen Access, that was a cool one. Carry On Accessibility, I guested on her podcast not terribly long ago, and that one is also on YouTube because she does it via video. So it's on her channel, and I've linked to it on my podcast and whatnot playlist. And again, I talked about Mr. LND1 and Toby 7.5. Oh yeah, Beep Boop Consulting. That was that game where it's kind of making this he's trying to make a Bubble Bobble style platformer arcade game accessible to blind players. And so I did a video on a demo that he had for the game, and we've been talking back a little bit. Haven't talked to him for a little while now, but I was talking to him back and forth a little bit about, what ideas we had for trying to make something like that accessible to blind players. Tech It Out with Vista. That was another fun one. Again, they approached me and asked if I wanted to do a presentation. They had a lot of veterans that were interested in, just kind of learning what was out there, for accessibility. It's kind of a popular pastime for a lot of people, including veterans who come back from the wars and, they still play games. So that was a fun interview presentation that I did this fall. And that then led to an opportunity where some of the people that were involved in that asked if I would be part of a panel for Site Tech Global that happened here in early December. And so I was part of a panel of 3 or 4 people. And again, we talked about anything from, game accessibility, current game accessibility, what's going to be coming around the corner, audio description, because that's starting to become a thing now. And again, we could have talked about a lot more. We had an excellent group of people on the panel, but we only had 30 minutes to do it. And I know we could have probably talked for a good couple hours in that session. So let's throw another log on the fire here, and there we go. But yeah, Site Tech Global, I had a blast doing that. And like I said, it's just fun I like talking into thin air like we're doing here, but it's also fun to talk and work with other people, whether it's a podcast interview or whether it's part of a panel, as I've done a few times, like the Game Accessibility Conference, SciTech Global, that kind of a thing. It's just been a lot of fun this year, doing a lot of these public interviews and podcast guest appearances. The GA Conf, speaking of Toby Doom one more time, we had the Game Accessibility Conference this fall, and I wasn't part of the conference, but the Mr. Alan D1 did a recorded session where he talked more in depth about some of the details of how the Toby Doom mod worked and some of the background, and kind of brought it to a lot wider. I think that having it available through the Game Accessibility Conference, especially if other game developers follow that, that was a great thing because, again, if we can get developers, especially first-person shooter developers, I mean, come on, I did a whole video earlier this week on boomer shooters, on old school retro first-person shooters. So it is a huge genre on its own. And so if we can get more mainstream developers to see that, hey, look at this, we've made this, like, this is a 30-year-old engine. If we can do it for a 30-year-old engine, we can do it for the current engines. And so there is hope. Just to be able to make, I know I see a lot of places online, forums and such, where people like, yeah, war games and stuff, card games and war games are cool, but I want to blow shit up just like everybody else does. I want to run around and shoot dudes and slash dudes. And yeah, I totally get it because I love those kinds of games myself. So it was really great to see Toby Doom on the GA-Conf stage. Being a part of the Game Awards and GA-Conf judges for the Innovation and Accessibility category and the GA-Conf Awards, that's a really fun thing that I was asked to be able to do. I've been a part of the Game Awards panel since that award started in 2020. And I'm glad they have the category, but I've learned a couple things since I did my last channel update video that I want to clue you guys into. Well, one thing I may have forgotten to talk about again was they did put the Innovation in Accessibility category in the pre-show again. I remember one year at least they put it in the main show. It was they just kind of glossed over it, but it was at least in the main show. Again, this being such a positive, with so many negative things happening in the game industry lately, that it would be really nice to have, that in the main show because it brings more attention to game accessibility in general, but it also, again, sheds some light on something positive in the industry for once, with everybody being so negative. I'd love to see it make the main show again. But one thing that I learned, I was talking to, I had posted something on Blue Sky to Jeff Gersman because he was talking about some of the awards in the Game Awards, and he was talking about he spent a couple of minutes talking about the Innovation and Accessibility category. And he was talking about, Prince of Persia had won, and he's like, well, because he's colorblind. He's anyone who watches his stuff knows that he has trouble seeing certain things, especially when it's like colorblind issues. And he's like, that's interesting that game won because even he said some of the visuals in that game he had trouble seeing. Even with some of the stuff that they implemented for accessibility. And he was wondering like how things were voted, or like, he's like, they should have some special, it shouldn't just be general people voting who don't know anything about accessibility. And so I messaged, or I added him on Blue Sky, and I said, hey, just to let you know, this is how I've been part of the panel for not the overall jury for all categories, but for the innovation and accessibility category in general. And, it's a group of us that we nominate the initial games that make the final five. Now, what I did learn though throughout that conversation was I thought that the final vote of who wins, I thought it was just still through the panel, the jury panel that votes for the innovation and accessibility category, the group of us who put out the initial nominations. But what happens is we make the initial nominations that we determine the top five, and then apparently, I don't know how it's weighted or anything, but like apparently the overall judges, they also get a vote in this category for the top five. So once we determine what the top five should be, then I guess everybody gets to vote because like Jeff's ballot had he could vote in that category, and he's like, well, I don't really know because I don't follow that aspect of it as much. And that's why I was surprised because I still had trouble visually seeing some parts of Prince of Persia. So I learned from him that like apparently the final voting stage is voted on by everybody, which I sort of see because anybody can make use of the accessibility features. But that's one, and I'd be curious to know. I think that should be weighted. The public should get a say, but I think the overall accessibility jury panel should be weighted heavier to say, we get more because we follow this stuff. We know what works and what doesn't for people. And your general audience, if they don't know, they're probably just going to vote for the game that they like. They're not going to take the time to dive in and see, oh, well, what accessibility features do they have? Because they don't use them. They don't use them. Maybe they hear something, or maybe they, take a quick peek in the accessibility menu or something. But so that was something that I learned within the last few days that I just found that was pretty interesting. I may be on another podcast in the near future. I did get a really nice shout out. Thank you, by the way, on one of the recent WASD and Beyond podcasts. They were talking about some of their Game of the Year nominees, and I don't remember what brought it up. I think it was when they were guessing what the nominees would be. And again, they were like, well, we don't know. What would we even nominate for accessibility for the category? And I had written to them on Twitter and because they I don't remember what it was, but they had said something, and I just thought, hey, let me just chip in and give you a little bit of insight as to what this is and how it works and and whatnot. And then we've been having kind of a private DM conversation a little bit off and on Twitter. And then since then, they did another episode related to the Game Awards. And when they talked about that category, they gave me a really nice shout out and very much appreciated. And I may be guesting on that podcast sometime in the fairly near future as well. So we will see. And I will let you know if and when that happens. I talked about SiteTech Global. Blind Abilities, I just did an interview for that the other day, about a week ago. And that is out now. If you follow Blind Abilities, their podcast. This one I didn't talk about games. This one I talked about tech. I talked about kind of where things are in technology right now. We talked about a lot of the things I talked about in one of the recent channel update videos. The state of a lot of the AI things that are happening right now. with all the apps that we talked about in the last video. Talked a bit about all of the Braille things going on with like the Monarch and things like that. Some of the mobility aids that are happening with Glidance and WeWalk, and there's a couple other ones that I can't remember the name of. So there's stuff in there's stuff in O&M and mobility. There's stuff in Braille happening. There's stuff in AI is just exploding. We got wearables. We got our glasses, Meta glasses, and Vision glasses, and upcoming glasses, and who knows what else we're going to see in the next year or two. Um, so that was, more tech related. And then I kind of related because the reason that I got on that podcast was my day job. I work, working with transition students, high school and college students, and we get a lot of our student clients who maybe listen to that. And so I was recommended to be like, hey, you should, for a transition topic, you should invite Jesse on to talk a little bit about where things are in technology right now. And so, yeah, I did, and it was fun. I think it turned out really well. So that, my friends, is 2024. That is some of my highlights. Again, a lot of it was just like, the Toby mod was a big thing, and then it was just a lot of like I didn't even mention, like, I did a few panels, I did a few like consulting gigs that I can't really talk about because of NDAs and such. So I did a little bit of consulting as well. Throw another log here to wrap things up. But I did a fair bit of consulting this year. I did a lot of interviews and podcast appearances, and again, I really find that to be enjoyable. I really enjoy chatting with other people and getting their perspective and just sharing with people, because the thing is I gotta go through all my email and some of my comments and things, because I do really want to. I've heard a few people say this where, like, it can be easy to get bogged down, and you see all this negativity, and you see something out there and like, oh, this isn't accessible and this doesn't work, and you just have your bad days. And I have genuinely gotten some really nice emails, some really nice YouTube comments. I've gotten some really nice DMs on Twitter or even Blue Sky. But people find my channel and they're like, oh, I didn't know that I could use a computer. I didn't know that, I used to play Xbox, but then I lost my vision, and now I learned that I can do some of that again, or I could play video games again, or, oh, wait, I can use an iPhone, and wait a minute, I can use this and I can read, like, take a picture of a document and have it read aloud. I can take a picture of something and get a description, like this Be My Eyes business. Like, wait, what? This is crazy. And so it's little things like that where I don't have a large audience. I have 3,000 something. I don't know if we're probably not going to make it to 4, or no. I don't even remember what we have for how many subscribers we have right now. I'm recording this on the 21st, because I'm trying to get these done so I can kind of just put them out the last few days leading up to New Year's. And yeah, I don't know. I forgot to look as to where we were subscribers wise, but again, it's not something that I pay attention to. Like these channels that are, I swear to God, like the trend of they focus on, well, oh, how many subscribers do I have? Oh, no, I lost 30 subscribers. I lost 80 subscribers, or 100 and 800 subscribers. I'm just happy to have what I have, and I'm lucky if I check the subscriber count maybe once a month, once every couple of months, if I think about it. Um, but I appreciate the people that do follow my work, that what I do, and it's comments like that that are really helpful and kind of make it worth continuing to do. You know, when you find out that, oh, I was able to help somebody because they can play games again, or oh, they can be more independent because oh, I can use my phone, I can use my computer. You know, they see somebody else with a vision impairment again. If you're, in your local community, it's very possible that if you have a vision impairment or a disability in general, you are probably a pretty low incident population in that group. I mean, there's a lot of people I talk to who are like, oh, I'm the only vision impaired person I know in my class or in my school, or, it's like, I don't, I don't have any contact with anyone with a disability or a vision impairment until I hook up with like SSB, or if I hook up with, some other service that caters specifically to blind people around the state or whatever it is. So, it can feel kind of isolating when you're like, well, I have these unique challenges. I know I can do my thing and I can get through it, but, being able to know that there are other people out there that have similar problems or similar, they have similar things than you do, and getting ideas from them and learning like, oh, hey, okay, I could do this, or, oh, that's an interesting idea. I didn't even think of that. So, that's kind of what I do. I don't focus on drama. I don't focus on, oh God, how is my channel doing? Oh no, I'm being demonetized. Oh no, the algorithm isn't favoring me. Whatever will I do? What I do is I release things on a schedule so that people know kind of when to expect content from me. Because again, if you want people to follow you long term, I think that you should have some sort of regularity. So that's where I've had my Wednesday and Fridays, or Wednesday and Saturdays, I should say. And then it eventually became Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday because I would do the mixers, which turned into Twitch streams, which turned into, holy crap, I've got a lot of crap going on and I don't really stream anymore. So now I just have enough videos to where I still do Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday content. But people have that consistency so they can subscribe. And, again, not every video is going to be for everybody, but that's why I try to cover blindness, accessibility related things, low vision thing. Because again, there's a lot of people, I know you hear a lot of people, not just for my stuff, but like in general, well, this isn't blind accessible. This isn't blind accessible. And then if they see something is for low vision, they'll jump out of the stream, or they won't watch the video, or they just ignore the content. Especially if you're interested in accessibility overall, it's a good idea to pay attention to that other stuff too, because like I will pay attention to people who stream or who might do a video for blind content, or I might pay attention to someone who does some stuff for mobility impaired users or hearing impaired users. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert in those areas, but at least I have a general baseline of knowledge, and that way I know, oh, this person will cover that. So if I work with a developer who's like, I also want to talk to somebody with a hearing impairment or whatever, I need to write some more of these down just so I can remember. But like, I want to be able to say, well, here's some general info, but I'm no expert in this area. Here's some people who are. Here's who you could contact. And so, I know that a lot of my low vision stuff doesn't do near as well. My blindness videos, if I do an app spotlight, if I do like an accessible app, an accessible game or an assistive technology thing maybe, those do pretty well. But then anything low vision, could be a retro shooter, could be just a regular low vision spotlight video. Unfortunately, those get a fraction of what the other videos do, which is kind of surprising because, the statistics would say that the greater majority of people who do have a vision impairment do have some usable vision. And so, like, I totally get it. Like, totally blind players are starved for accessible content. So they're looking for anything and anything and everything that they can possibly play. And I totally get that. But like, I was kind of hoping that maybe more of my low vision videos would do better because, you do have that vision as a spectrum kind of a deal of like, well, I have crappy eyesight, but I do have some usable vision. So maybe I can look at these low vision spotlight videos and see if I can identify a few games that I can play with the vision that I do have. So, I just keep doing what I'm doing and hope it helps people, hope it entertains people, hope it can clue people into something that they didn't know they could do. Gives people some ideas. Again, I try to cover a wide variety of games. Yes, I do first-person shooters a lot, but I do anything from RPG and puzzle games and a few card games now, and racing games, platformers, whatever, adventure games. I try to mix it up between a lot of that stuff, and I try to mix it up between, like I said, low vision, blindness, geeky stuff, interviews, podcast guest appearances, putting that stuff in the playlists, app reviews, game reviews, or spotlights, I should say. They're kind of reviews, but more spotlights than reviews. So that is 2024. I mean, as far as next year, I already have a list of games that I haven't talked really about yet. Give me 1 second. I need to get one final drink here. Oh, so much talking. These are better recorded. But like, I already have some games that I've picked up on a couple recent Steam sales because, well, they're deep Steam sales. And so I've been meaning to get around to them, playing these games. And there's been a couple games that have just come out that I want to play. So the content on the channel isn't going to be slowing down. I've got a couple of iOS games that I've already mentioned that I will be releasing or that I will be unlocking for you guys in the near future. I've got a couple of ones that I have played but I haven't recorded video for. So we've got that. Not really much in the way of PC accessible games that I know of at the moment. I know we're going to have The Last of Us Part 2 remastered coming to PC in April next year. Beyond that, not a clue. I'm sure we'll have some indie games, or hopefully we'll get some more, mainstream indie and AAA developers give us some blind accessible games. We'll see. Again, AI is going to be a huge thing. I really want to cover this Ally, but again, it's in such kind of rapid development that it's hard to know when I really want to cover. At what stage do I want to cover it? But I may cover it once or twice in the future because it's in a good place now where they're doing so many new things compared to even when I covered it this summer that I think it's worth taking a look at again. And so, again, I'm going to try to do an interesting little Christmassy thing with it. I don't know if it's going to work, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it won't. But I have a weird idea that I'm going to try. And if it happens, you'll see it on Christmas or Christmas Eve, probably. And if not, I will just cover the app as normal in the future as well. But either way, so yeah, I mean, things like that. If Be My Eyes gets new features on Windows, maybe we'll get other things. You know, I covered the Google Gemini. Who knows what that'll be? That has to come to the Gemini app pretty soon, I would imagine. We have more of these glasses things coming out. Oh, there's another pair of glasses that I'm kind of following pretty closely that I don't remember the name of. Let me see if I... Um, I'll quit it. What are they called? Echovision. These could have potential. I hope they do. But like I said, there's probably a good 3 or 4 rumblings of different wearables and things, and you combine that with AI. And again, I think the combination of that, if they implement it correctly and they use the right AI models, that's going to be very helpful to blind and visually impaired users because, you know, right now, again, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses are really good, but they have their limitations that Meta has put into them, into the AI, where, you know, they've kind of gotten around some of those things or chose to not put those limitations in things like Be My Eyes or Ira because, you know, blind people have different needs of how things are described versus what a sighted person would. So I'm very intrigued to see, you know, maybe what partnerships we already have. Be My Eyes, the Connect Live volunteer feature on the Ray-Ban glasses, but it would be great if either Meta allows an API to have something like Be My AI. If I could just say, hey, Be My AI, and then it would launch that sort of feature. That would be great. Or maybe they look at what Be My Eyes or similar apps have done and they either lift some of those restrictions so that Meta AI can do these types of things with their Meta AI. But you know, then again, you know, Google's going to come out with their smart glasses. Apple, who knows? Theoretically, they might be working on glasses. But I mean, I didn't even talk about. Actually, the funny thing is, we were talking about AI in the last video as a major theme, and I forgot to even mention Apple Intelligence, which kind of just goes to show, like, yeah, it's a thing in iOS 18.2. It's starting to get there, but like, I like that you can use ChatGPT for some things right through Siri, but the problem is a lot of this stuff is really gimmicky. Like, okay, if you know, if you need help with writing things, that can be useful, but I generally haven't used that. And their whole image generation, their Genmoji and their image playground, whatever. Yeah, I've played with them a little bit, but I kind of find them to be sort of dumb. I mean, I don't like him. I don't really use emoji to begin with. You know, I mean, I know modern people, youngins or whatever, they speak in text speak and they use emojis all the time. And apparently there are hidden meanings to emojis that, like, oh, this fruit doesn't mean a piece of fruit, or this whatever this thing doesn't mean what the picture is. And I don't know any of that stuff because I don't really care. But you know, now it's like, oh, well, we can create our own emoji based off of whatever AI prompt. That's something I'm realistically probably never going to use. the image intelligence is kind of a neat thing. Um, that it's natively part of the phone, that's cool, but as someone who has been using a lot of these other AI apps designed for blind people that are still either free or very inexpensive, because I know that eventually, like Be My AI or even especially like Ally, I would have to imagine eventually they can't keep up free development forever. So it would not be out of the realm of possibility to me. I think that it would be fair to expect sometime in the next year or two, once they get a steady footing under them of like what their products are going to be, I think that we're probably going to start to see more of a subscription for some of this stuff because, again, they have ongoing costs going to whatever, processor or whatever service they use, whether it's Gemini, GPT, or whatever it is they use. There's costs for that. And, I can see there being some basic services for free, and then, like, if you want more, you could do a subscription. And as long as it's not ungodly expensive, to me, that seems fair. Again, developers got to eat. They have to live and survive and support their families. So I do think that that's going to be coming at some point in the near future. But I think AI is going to continue to be a thing. I'm curious to see how it's going to be implemented. We've got our mobility stuff, our Braille stuff. And then with this whole new, again, political regime, who knows how they're going to either help or impede or disrupt the way things are working right now in technology. Your Microsofts and Googles and Amazons and Apples of the world. No idea. But anyway, I'm cautiously optimistic. Like, I try to not look down on everything, try not to be a pessimist. I say I'm a realist. But I think that there's a lot to look forward to, whether it's games or tech or AI or, even just getting access to information. The fact that we can go online and get almost any book, movie, piece of music, TV show that we want in some form. Yes, there are still stupid things where some publishers decide to block text-to-speech access for their Kindle books, for instance. Still, the fact that happens in 2024 still is exceedingly stupid, if you ask me. But, for the most part, again, we've never had it better. It's never been a better time to be blind or visually impaired. And I don't know. That's just a kind of a quick look back at 2024. A little bit of my thoughts on what might happen in 2025. Finally got through these. I think I'm going to give my voice a rest for a while. I was thinking about getting a couple of these other videos for apps and things out of the way, but I think my voice needs a rest for a bit. But that is where we will wrap it up. So again, hope you guys have enjoyed this little wrap-up series that I do, and I hope everyone had a good holiday season, got to enjoy family and friends. Hopefully the weather behaved itself. Hopefully people have a happy new year. I am taking a few days off and enjoying a little over a week off myself. So I'm pre-recording this before that happens. So I am very much looking forward to having this time off. And so by the time this video goes, I'll have a few days left of vacation left, but not too many. So anyway, hope you guys had a good holiday. Looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next year. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. Blue Sky at Illegally Cited. Twitch.tv/illegally cited. IllegallyCited.com. And right here on YouTube. Until next time, I will chat with everybody again later. And we're out.